Hi, I'm Jifanya. Welcome to another episode of the Kekasm Experience. So, on today's episode, diamonds are forever. Yes, diamonds are forever. JONESBOND 2022. So, we had the pleasure of making a cake for the JONESBOND 22 that we called Diamonds Are Forever. That was the theme which we based the design of the cake on, and it was such, I love a challenge. I mean, by this time, if you follow me, you know that I am all about a challenge. I don't like to repeat designs. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. And so when I met my clients, they really gave me a challenge because they wanted something that was very different. And at the same time, they also wanted something that was extremely classy and timeless. And those two concepts seem to be at a juxtaposition to each other, because it was something that's very out there and very intricate, and you want something very classic and elegant. They seem to be at odds, but the goal for me was to create something that ticked all the boxes for the clients and that presented enough of a challenge to me to get me excited. And once I'm excited about your cake, man, we're going to do magic. So the first thing was to set up a team. With every experience, I try to set up a team of people that I believe will help me to realize the vision I've given my clients as to what we are going to do.
Jifa called me for an experience for the Jones wedding, and then we were deliberating on what we would do for them. It was an up and down thought, so many things. We brought in so many ideas, but we finally decided on one which was, to me, was one of the epic things. If we had done, would be like the talk of the town the entire year, if I should say.
We were contacted by the lovely, ever bubbly Jifa of Sweet and Tints to come up with. She had come up with a concept of a cake and a diamond, and we were on and on about it. I believe the first day we had a phone call, and Jifa and I have long phone calls which are unending. The line has to cut, or my phone has to go off, or her phone has to go off, and it's usually just us bouncing ideas off each other. And the idea started, and they sounded really well. The second call we had, by this time we had finalized the concept, was with the client, and these were Kojo's words exactly, that we should blow his mind. Just he gave us that liberty.
And so for this particular cake, the client had a very specific vision and specific details as to what they wanted us to have in the cake and the features that they wanted us to do. And so these sorts of cakes, I must first of all state, are classified as experiential cakes. They are not just wedding cakes. They are an experience. They are cakes that are not just sitting on a table, or are not just doing one thing. They are cakes that stimulate you visually, your senses in terms of sound, because we do custom voiceovers and all sorts of things. And so these category of cakes are more than just luxury cakes. They are luxury experience cakes that give your guests something very unusual and memorable. And so one of the first things that we did was to come up with the theme Diamonds Are Forever. And once we knew that that was what we wanted to do, because of the JONESBOND James Bond sort of correlation, we knew that Diamonds Are Forever was the perfect thing, because it's a love story, it's about romance, and diamonds are a girl's best friend. I mean, the sayings about diamonds, we can go on and on and on, but diamonds are timeless, they are elegant, like all those things. And so those were the features that I sought to put in the cake. But then we also had to have the sound and the voice over to go along with the theme so that everything worked in sync. So I contacted my go-to person, MC Nicholas Asante.
So, by the grace of God, Jifa called and said, we're going to work on a bougie event. This time we are creating a voiceover for Kojo. And I said, is that Kojo Jones? And I said, is that a nice guy, Kojo Jones? And she said, yes. I said, oh, okay, that'll be fine. So yeah, I got to speak with Kojo and his wife. And I had a good conversation with them, and they said, okay, we are creating something on the theme diamonds. I said, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, so diamonds, the attributes of diamonds, what does the diamond symbolizes when it comes to marriage and all that. I took it from how they met how it's UK initiated. So if you listen to the poem, I say London initiates, Gold Coast hosts. So what I basically meant by that is, so it started from London, we got to Ghana where it all started, it all continued, hosted, everything got in. So I'm talking about how they met. I wasn't there, but I created lines where he's saying, he's kneeling and saying, I want it, and the lady also wants it and all that. It is all supposed to create a certain, picture in your head that, oh, okay, so this is how it went. But I'm sure you know that's not necessarily how it went. I'm a storyteller, so I must tell you a story for you to love it.
I think we actually did make it happen, even though it wasn't the plan. The same animation we did, which took several trials. If I was like, no, I don't like this animation. This is not what we talked about. But we ended up giving her exactly what she wanted. It was pressure, and then my animator too. It looks like he wasn't feeling well, so he was a little bit slow for my liking. I was like, oh, Charlie, Sammy, do this thing, let's go, finish this thing. And he would look at my face like that, and then come back and then be like, Charlie, I'm tired. I was like, yeah, Charlie, this is the job. Let's do it, and then finish it, and let's go.
Now, our biggest shock, we had anticipated this, our biggest shock when we got to the venue was that our acrylic was weighing so much. That's number one. Number two, the allowance in the ceiling did not fit the size which we had built. So ideally, the whole plan was, this was supposed to be something hidden. It was supposed to be something inconspicuous. It was supposed to be something in the ceiling, and it drops down with that effect. And for me, Jifa does not know this. She probably just saw this. But once I entered the room and I looked at the ceiling, I knew that we will have challenges taking this motor up. So it was quite heavy, you understand. And then I had reservations that the only spine hole in the building was what housed most of the decor, was what housed most of the furnishings up there. And adding the weight of this, which per my calculation was almost 100 kilograms, would add a lot of weight to that. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and try. At first try, we had, I think, about 5 guys carried it into the building. At first try, we tried to lift it up, and then the hoist started giving a bounce. And I was like, nope, let's not risk it, because we had worked so long and so hard to make the time. But my biggest fear was us ruining other people's work. So you go in there and then you put your thing up, and maybe the whole building collapses.
So I'm sure you know what you heard was not my voice. Kojo wanted somebody with Morgan Freeman kind of voice to do the voiceover after the writing is done. So we started looking, and luckily we got a guy from the UK who has experiences. He has done voiceovers for BMW, done voiceovers for a few big companies, like global companies.
Yeah, so the thing about it is, a lot of people, it takes a village. And I think that one of the most important things about being a creative is knowing where your strengths lie and being able to leverage other people's strengths, and then building a team that can work well together. I think sometimes that's where it is, because yes, even though you may have a vision for something you want to achieve, you need to be able to have the foresight to build a team that can help you achieve that vision. Because I mean, I'm not an animator, I'm not into mapping. I mean, I know of the technology and I know what the technology can do, but I think not as much as he does, because that's his field. So any new innovations and stuff like that, Kwesi, so sometimes I come up with very crazy ideas, and then I just run it by Kwesi. I'm like, Kwesi, I have this idea, what do you think? Can it work? And sometimes like, yeah, let's try and see. And I think that's one of the things that's really important, to be able to work with people who are willing to take risks. Because you see, a lot of the times what we do is there's always a certain level of risk, a risk that it won't work. Because the thing is that a lot of these things are things that have never been done before, not by us, not by anybody else. And so anything that is new usually faces challenges. And so failing is not something that I think should be foreign or something that we should take personally. Because yes, you face problems, but I think one of the biggest lessons that we learned in this job in particular is not to give up. Yes, we face challenges. Yes, we go through, like, things don't always go according to plan, but we still need to pull through and not give up and say that, we are so enjoy. So yeah, it was a fun experience. JONESBOND 2022.
We did it. Yeah.
That was the experience of the JONESBOND 2022. Thank you.
JONESBOND 2022. It was excellent. Thank you.
Throw your diamonds in the sky if you